And welcome to the Town of Ossining Town Work Session for November 3rd, 2014, our special Monday night at the boardroom. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So this evening, what we're going to do is we're going to be discussing the 2013 tentative supervisor's budget. I'm sorry. Did I say 13? Oh my God.
Whoa! That was a good year.
I apologize. We can never stop the tape either. Let's start out. Let's do a do-over. This evening, we're going to be discussing the 2015 tentative supervisor's budget. One of the things that we wanted to do is go over with people, because we put the budget up online, and our board all has a copy of it, and of course our department managers all have their copies of their departments. And sometimes we never spend a few minutes just going over what the columns mean and how we're going to move forward and what the process is. We also wanted to spend a couple of minutes tonight going over some of the uniqueness of this particular budget as we have moved things from one budget. We have multiple budgets in the town, and we've moved things from one budget to another budget. We had to put funds in for special things, but we'll go over that in 1 second. So, Maddie, can we... Yes, sir.
The people who are with us tonight introduce themselves to you.
Hi, they are. They're here for their scouting badge. Oh, you know.
Is that good,
Because
Tom?
you're there from your troop.
More?
If you could, please, yes.
Is that all right?
Yeah, that's perfect.
Can everyone see their book? So what we're going to show you tonight is really what the cover page of a budget looks like. We have two different parts of a budget. One is revenue and one is expenditures. And when we start with the revenue, I'm going to move over a little bit so I can point it out on the screen too. But when we start with the revenue, that's how we collect the funds to pay all the bills of the town in this particular instance. And it is not all done by property tax. We have other revenues. So we try to enhance our other revenues so that our property taxes can be as palatable, I'll say, as possible. I'm just looking. Okay. So in this particular budget that we have up on the screen, this is a town general. The town of Ossining has several different budgets. We have the town general budget, of which we are the umbrella government for the unincorporated area, the 91% of the village of Briarcliff Manor, and the entire village of Ossining. And by umbrella organization or board, what we do is we do your assessments. We do the assessments for all the different, the two villages in the unincorporated area. We collect town, county, and school taxes in the unincorporated area, for the unincorporated area and the two villages. We also have a clerk that is townwide clerk. And we have different parts of it. We have a court, a town-wide court, for a couple of instances. So when we put the budget together, what we do is we need to be able to look at history a little bit before we move forward. So in this particular instance, we go back to, and I'm going to start with the columns up at the top that says account. So the account is what fund it is. So in the town general fund, it's a 10 fund. Good evening. Why don't you come and sit right up here so you can answer any questions that might pop up. Tom Warren just joined us, our comptroller. I sit next to Wayne.
We won't bite.
So on the top line, you see different lines on the top. So 2000, we start a few years back with our taxes. This is probably where I got caught up in 2013. I introduced it as the 2013 supervisor's budget, Mr. Warren. I'm sure we would be thrilled with that, but we're past that now. So what we do is we have gone back and we're going to show numbers, and we're going to look at numbers while we're putting together this budget for 2012, 2013, and then what we have is we have the original 2014 budget, since that's what we're in right now. We have any adjustments we've made to the 2014 budget, and then we have the actual to date budget. Then we have a column that says 2015 requested stage, and that is what the department managers request of the budget. They come in and they say, this is what we need to run our department, this is our payroll, our supplies, and what have you, all the different parts of it. Then we have the recommended, and that's the recommended is the supervisor's budget. And then lastly, we have, do we have those lines up here? Yeah. And then we have the adopted stage. So in December, after we have public hearings, we have a town hall meeting, we meet with all the department managers, we tweak this budget a little bit. Notice I said a little bit. Then we will have our adopted budget, and we hope to adopt our budget on December 9th this year. We have until the 20th of December to do it, but the earlier we can get it done, the better, because then we can start planning for 2015. So we just wanted to go over that so that when people look at this on the webpage, they kind of understand what these different columns are. So in the town general, we have our tax levy. We have a tax levy, and then we are allowed with the 2% tax cap, which is never it's a tax levy increase. Maybe I'll have Mr. Warren explain to us about the plus 2.28% growth factor and what have you. Can you do that for us, Tom? Do you need your budget, or you know this by heart?
I do have the budget, but I can pretty much wing it.
Okay.
The first item is actually the so-called 2% or CPI, whichever is less.
Right.
And this year it was less. It was established at 1.56%. And then you add the growth factor, which is a number that's established by New York State Tax and Finance, and that's based on pretty much changes to the assessment roll, growth. It's never a negative number, it's always a positive number if it's any number that's given at all, and it's based on plus changes to the roll. And then there's plus and minus changes to for pilot payments, and it's pretty much a number that hasn't changed in the past, but because now there's a very large new pilot payment that's actually an adjustment on the tax cap calculation. It has to be absorbed within the tax cap. It's really pretty much substituting a pilot payment for a property tax.
Okay. I'm just trying to think what else. Okay. So you have all these different calculations after you have to come up to get to your budgeted amount that you need to collect somehow, however revenues you can collect them, either by property tax or by other revenues, in some cases court fees and different fees, building department fees and what have you. So what happens is that you calculate this number, so it's never, and it's a levy, it's not really a tax, it's not what percent of tax can go up. So inevitably what happens is, and this happens a lot with our school taxes, it looks like everyone's staying within the tax, and they are staying within the tax levy. But certain instances, some people may go up higher than maybe a couple of percentage points higher than the 2% tax cap in their actual tax increase. So it can get very complicated, but if you look at it and you look at it and you figure it out, if you ever have any questions, you can call the supervisor's office. Please don't call finance, because the finance department is trying to take care of several municipalities simultaneously. But in this particular instance, as of the town general tax, then we go into what we have. We have pilots, and a pilot is payment in lieu of taxes. And we've always had several pilots. They've been going on for years. The Pines is a pilot. Snowden is a pilot. Maple House is a pilot. But this year we added in 507 North State Road, which we gave them a limited pilot when we sold that's the old police station. And then there's the Harbor Square pilot. So this year there's 5 pilots, so that's where Mr. Warren was talking about having a different calculation. I'm not going to go down every single number of this, but we just wanted you to be able to see what a page looked like of a general fund. And this is the revenue page. Maddie, can you put up an expenditure page? I'm going to turn around for a second. An expenditure page looks very much, the columns up at the top look very much like because it's going to follow. You're going to see the true history. So you're going to see 2000, in this particular case, 2012, 2013, 2014 original adjusted, final projection, and the actual. But the actual is to date. So that's as in this particular instance on mine, on that one, it would be 11/3 of 14. Mine happens to be 10/28 of 14. So it's all the bills that have been paid up to that point. Sometimes our bills lag a lot. They lag in them being sent in. For example, in the Westchester County Police right now, we pay our police contract twice a year. We pay several service contracts once a year. So we have to be very conscious that just because the actual for 2014 looks very low, we cannot project our budget on that necessarily, because that doesn't reflect all of the invoices that are out there waiting or the rest of the year for that matter. So it's very interesting that way. Again, we're not going to go over all of the different lines that we have, but if you take your time and you'll go over and you'll see, they see a little summary form of it on the web page. Okay, so we have the different. Each department has their own department, and what we do is we go department by department. So the structure of doing a budget is we come up with a beginning budget, more or less compared to last year. And then what we do is we sit down, the supervisor and team, finance team, and the budget director, who's Maddie, sit down with each department head and go over what their requests are, and that's where you get that requested line. Then we review the budget, and we know we want to stay within the tax cap. We either what do we decide that we want the budget to be? And then what we do is we sit down and look at all the numbers. We make some decisions as to what projects, what equipment can be bought and what have you. If you have major projects out there, you usually do them in capital projects, which is outside of this budget. When you do capital projects, a lot of times you have to borrow the money. So whenever you hear that we're going out to bond, that means we're going out to borrow money long term. And a BAN is a bond anticipation note, and so it's a short-term money, and sometimes people use that. For instance, we're having this expectation of FEMA giving us money for a major project that we're doing. So you don't want to go out for a long-term bond on that. You want to go out for a BAN and then have that be able to be paid off in a timely manner. So if you look through this and you see supplies and you see, for instance, I want to give you an example in the building department. His actual supplies are $2,993 right now, and he is requesting $4,500. But we have to understand that we still have a few months to go, and some invoices are always lagging. So one of the things that I did want to go over with everyone tonight is some of the special things that happened in this particular year of 2015. We have done some things that we had to budget for that would not be a normal everyday budget item. One of those items is that right now, if you are, we have multiple budgets that we take care of. So I talked a little bit about the town general budget. We also have the unincorporated budget. The unincorporated budget in budget land is called what is it called, Tom? It's the 20 fund, but it's the outside the villages, town outside the villages. So it gets a little bit confusing, but we kind of set it up to be the unincorporated because that's what we call it. So the unincorporated budget, again, is a budget for the people that live in if you don't live in the village of Ossining and you don't live in the village of Briarcliff, you live in but you live in the town, you live in the unincorporated area. There are people that have Briarcliff zip codes, and there's people that have Ossining zip codes, but they all live in the unincorporated area. If they don't live in those villages. So we are their local government. We are the government that police them, have highways. We have a building department, and so we do their local, everyday governing of that unincorporated area. One of the things that's happened in this last year or so is we received petitions from a small group of people who had gone out and gotten petitions in the election district of 1720, election district 17 and election district 20. And the request was to move over to the village of Briarcliff Manor. What has happened since then, we had a lot of people tell us that they did not want to go. We had a lot of meetings, and we could not come to an agreement that we felt it was very not advantageous at all to go and have that section of the unincorporated area move to Briarcliff Manor, because the rest of the unincorporated area had not asked to move to Ossining, and it would make it financially crippling for them to have those services that they need without having the rest of that area. We decided to decline the request to go and have a vote to go over to Briarcliff Manor, but Briarcliff Manor decided that they wanted to pursue this. What happens is if you've watched any of these meetings, we go to the appellate court. We're in court right now. We have started the whole process. I'm going to let counsel talk about it for a second. But in essence, what we had to do in this particular budget is we determined a long time ago that we would make this because we felt it affected everyone, including the people that lived in the village of Briarcliff Manor now, the people that lived in the village of Ossining now, and the unincorporated area, that we would split up the cost of this legal action, 50% for the town general and 50% for the unincorporated area. What we've been told by our legal firm that's working on this to budget $100,000. $100,000 is a tremendous amount of money. It could do some road work that we desperately need in Ossining. But I'm going to let counsel talk a little bit about the 1720 lawsuit that we're in right now.
You said you were giving me a second?
No.
Because I actually prepared a few notes.
No.
Okay. I thought I'd take this opportunity also to discuss two aspects, just to give you an overview of just a sort of a status report on the matter, as well as discuss it from a budgetary standpoint, since this is budget time. So I did prepare some notes, and it's advantageous time-wise, which I'll explain as I go through my my notes. So annexation, I don't believe we need to go over, obviously rehash it from the beginning, because, we've all been through the hearings and the discussions, and we've been, reviewed the law to a large extent. But we are now in the middle of the process controlled by a specific body of laws in New York State. It's really moved now from local control to the courts. The Village of Briarcliff Manor has filed its application for the matter to be submitted to the Appellate Division, which is the intermediate appellate court of the New York State court system. Briarcliff Manor made its determination that annexation was in the best interest in their view of the communities, the overall communities impacted by annexation. And the town of Ossining made its determination that annexation would not be in the best interest of those communities or the overall community. By submitting the matter to the court, the Village of Briarcliff Manor is requesting the court to substitute its judgment as to whether annexation will be in the best interest of the involved communities, and that there would be benefits without detriments to the affected communities as well as the overall community. At this stage, Briarcliff Manor has the burden of proof on these matters. Per the governing statutes, the court has assigned a panel of 3 referees to preside over the hearing, or a hearing, to consider the evidence and to issue their report to the appellate court as a whole with their recommendation as to whether annexation is in the best interest of the communities and whether or not the matter should proceed to a vote or a referendum. The process will now begin with the referees governing the information regarding the process of municipal services and the impacts of possible annexation. there will be what we lawyers call discovery, which will involve procedures such as document exchanges, depositions, identification of experts, all intended to provide the referees with the information they will require to render their determination. Now, coincidentally, today I met with our special counsel, which was retained by the town in connection with the annexation court proceedings. We reviewed in detail the discovery that we believe will initially be required, with the understanding that in litigation, discovery often leads to additional discovery. The Village of Briarcliff Manor is undoubtedly doing the same, all in anticipation of a conference that is now scheduled to take place on Wednesday of this week in Westchester County, which will be attended by the parties, myself, our council, and with Briarcliff Manor and their council. The purpose of the conference, as we understand it, is to determine the extent of discovery required and to establish ground rules and a timetable for the orderly completion of discovery and the eventual scheduling of a hearing that will be required. I've also consulted with special counsel to ascertain the possible costs that will be incurred, and particularly in 2015, since it's likely the bulk of discovery will take place during that year, and that information is needed for obvious budgetary reasons. Understanding the difficulties of predicting the course of litigation, the estimate for legal costs the town will incur was between $60,000 and $100,000 in 2015. This estimate was intended to be relatively conservative, with costs likely spread over more than one year, fiscal year, but with a degree of certainty that if the matter is litigated to conclusion, the costs to the taxpayers will likely well exceed the expenditure for 2015. Regarding the allocation of expenditures, after evaluating the various impacts within the overall communities, it was determined that impacts from possible annexation will spread beyond the town outside villages and the village of Briarcliff Manor, but will have fiscal impacts upon the entire town. The basis for this conclusion, or one of the bases for this conclusion, is the myriad of intermunicipal agreements and the web of interconnection between the town and the village of Ossining, as well as town-wide impacts, including those within Briarcliff Manor. As a result, and by reason of these conclusions and analysis, it was determined that the appropriate allocation of annexation costs would be 50% to the town unincorporated and 50% to town general, as stated by the town supervisor. So with that being said, I mean, that's just a brief status report. I'll take any questions about it if you like.
I heard you said that there's a discovery conference this Wednesday, so 2 days from now.
That's correct.
And Briarcliff filed their application. Has the panel been chosen yet?
There's been a panel
Assigned?
assigned. There's three
They
retired
Okay.
judges. Actually, 2 retired judges and 1, I think, non-judicial individual.
Okay.
That's correct.
Hi, thank you very much for that excellent summary. Do we know how much Briarcliff Manor is budgeting, since this is public information?
I don't know offhand. It's something that I haven't looked into. We're basing it on what we believe is appropriate for the town at this point, based on estimates given by our council. I'm sure that information, is obtainable.
We also know they start their year in June 1st, and we know that they have made budget adjustments to put in but they have several suits going on, but they put $100,000 into their legal line too.
I mean,
What they did.
right? They have different legal arrangements than the town has.
Right.
They have retained counsel, a firm that provides them with all whatever legal services they require. I'm sure they also have outside additional special counsel as well. So there's no specific line item that I'm aware of within their budget, for annexation costs.
No. Not that
but
we've
that's
seen.
something certainly I'm sure that can be ascertained through either FOIL or other inquiries.
Okay. Maybe I could just point out for our audience that this is one of the few expenditures that is really not, it's sort of beyond our control. Whereas if we want to pave roads and we vote to pave roads, well, we set aside budget items to pave roads. And if we want to make contributions to other civilly important arenas, well, then we can dedicate money to that. But unfortunately here, we're sort of forced by the hand of Briarcliff Manor to spend money that we would prefer not to spend on what we think is a very frivolous, or let me not say frivolous, non-meritorious claim, and to spend this kind of money and to have to set aside this amount of funds for budgeting purposes, it just sort of rubs me the wrong way.
It is far better to have it budgeted, however, for what we have going on.
Of course.
Some of the other items that are a little bit different for the 2015 budget is we are going to have to start supporting Dale Cemetery. We have set aside $100,000 to support Dale Cemetery up of last maybe 4 or so years. Dale Cemetery has been self-sustaining. We have made some drastic changes over there with management of the cemetery. So we have knocked down the cost. We are using the small monies that we have left in their fund balance. We're going to spread it over a few years. So we're going to supplement Dale Cemetery with $100,000 for the 2015 budget. We have some staffing changes in the courts. We have brought, instead of having people, consultants, we're bringing in employees to do translation, and we are in the middle of changing around because we're changing our police services. We're going to change around a little bit about the structure of the court officers. We are also put into this particular budget a 50% payment towards the balloon payment, the final payment on the police station that we sold this last year. We took all the funds that we received from the sale of that police station, we're required to by law, we would have done it anyway, and paid down the callable bonds that were available for us to pay down. By 2017, we'll be able to pay off all the bonds, and so what we did is this particular year we put in a 50% towards that balloon payment. We are hiring a third person in the supervisor's office. We have worked for 3 years with just Maddie and myself. We are very, very efficient, I must point that out. However, we have certain things that we just can't wrap our arms around and get done, such as grant acquisition and administration. That's being one of the key things. We also are going to move some of Dale Cemetery. I'm not going to, what was the word? Record keeping. Thank you. So it's been a long week, and it's only Monday. Okay, we have 2 people retiring in our highway department, and our union obligations will be higher than usual, but we are making some shift changes over there too. We are, in this particular budget, we have the office clerk going to a part-time status in that department, and it looks like we're going to keep the person that we have who's retiring, and she'll just be part-time. So that will help us because their payroll is very, very complicated. Parks. For the last, since 1996 about, the town has been maintaining Veterans Park for the Village of Ossining, 1996, 1998 timeframe, for the Village of Ossining. The Village of Ossining has a large crew, and the town of Ossining has a small crew in their parks. And so what we have determined that at this point, Veterans Park would be much more suited to be maintained by the Village of Ossining. So we're going to give that back, that maintenance on the Village of Ossining to the Veterans Park to the Village of Ossining, and then we can concentrate on the town parks, which is Gerlach, Ryder. I know I'm going to miss somebody. Cedar Lane, Buck Johnson Playground, and the playgrounds that we just did too. So we have Sally Swope and those parks. Oh yeah, Dale Cemetery, but that's a cemetery. Actually Dale Cemetery is a memorial park. So We have decided that with the Village of Ossining, we have moved, one of our IMAs with the Village of Ossining has been recreation services. And up until now, the recreation services, we spoke about this last week and stuff, has been coming out of town general. Well, the recreation services should be for the unincorporated people because those are the people that the Briarcliff has their own recreation, the Village of Ossining has their own recreation. So we're moving the recreation IMA into the unincorporated budget. But by doing that, we sat down with the village and we came to a determination that the people in the unincorporated area would then pay the same fees for every service, including their rec card in the Village of Ossining, as a villager pays. There might be a slight increase in that fees. We have to wait for their fee structure to come out for the year. But that would be a significant personal savings for families that we can put into the budget. So we're very, very pleased with that. But what we also decided to do as a group between the town and the Village of Ossining is move some items that were being handled a lot, high percentages with the Village of Ossining and then some percentages with the town, such as fireworks and the concert series at the summer concert series. These are things that are enjoyed by everyone, no matter where you're from. So if you're from Briarcliff, the Village of Ossining, or the unincorporated area, so we're putting the cost of those activities into the town general budget. I did the rec IMA. We are using fund balance. Fund balance, I'm not going to call it the rainy day fund, but fund balance is your savings account. Was that how you would refer to it as, Tom, your savings account? In the old days, we used to call fund balance your rainy day funds because you would have this balance that you would not put in your budgets at all, and you would have it. It would be like your savings account. So we have done a very excellent job of improving our fund balance over the last few years. Started with the last supervisor, and we've continued on that path. But it's appropriate now and then to use a little bit of that instead of adding more tax dollars onto people when it's at a high percentage rate against the whole budget, which now it is at a good, solid percentage rate. So what we're going to do is put some of our fund balance back in. What we have done in the past is we have, at the end of the year, we have put money back into the fund balance, and it usually evens itself out. This may not happen this year. We've done some tremendous work in our parks. We've been spending money to really pick up, especially in the parks. So we may just break even this year, but we'll be fine with that because it will still be a high percentage rate.
So in that particular account, that'll be known as a contingency account?
No, there's a line that's going to just say, thank you. What the councilman asked me is if this was the contingency fund, and it's not. What we do is we have a separate line in the budget that just says funds from your fund balance. Your contingency fund is something that you put into the budgets that is like an extra padding. I don't want to say padding like a terrible word to use, but it is it's like a little piggy bank in there in case you run into a problem. And in this particular instance, now that we have contracted with the Village of Ossining Police, I want to give you a perfect example of this. We've contracted with the Village of Ossining Police and we've sold the police building. We had some extra funds that we could bring the unincorporated budget down to a zero budget increase and still have some extra funds. Well, we put those extra funds, it wasn't as much as people were out there talking about because, they were thinking that the contract between what we have with Westchester County and the Village of Ossining was $2 million. That was over the whole life of an agreement, and it will be different because you'll be inside the agreement by then. So in order to be able to make all these, in order to be able to continue on year after year and having very low budget increases, if any, we want to be able to do some work without borrowing money. So what we did was we came up with the unincorporated budget is at a zero increase, and what happens is that we took some money and we put into a contingency fund. And the contingency fund will be used for one of two things. It will either be used for roads, which we want to start working on our roads, getting our roads repaved in the unincorporated area, or it will be used for tax certs. We're doing tax certiorari's right now, where we have given back in the last 5 years over $2.5 million when people grieve their taxes. That is why we are doing a total Town of Ossining reassessment. So there are certain things that are going to start to. We have to start paying our bonds on that cost of that reassessment. So some of our bonds have gone up too in cost. That's a lot of information in a little time. I want to ask my board members as they look through this what they have questions for. As we wrote in our supervisor's update, and we put everywhere that we could possibly think of, our time frame is to have this meeting tonight. We will have a legislative meeting next Wednesday, because Tuesday is Veterans Day. And then the next week after that, we will have a town hall meeting at the library, of which the budget will be a top conversation should anyone in the public have any questions about it. Then we will have our official public hearing on the budget, and then we will vote on the budget. So it's a process. The board will be meeting with any department managers that have any questions about their budget. There'll be a few meetings that we have to attend. We will advertise them. They will hopefully be in this room, so we can be open to the public when we do meet with the department heads. And then the board will make any decisions if any adjustments should be made to the supervisor's tentative budget. And we will begin 2015. So I just want to ask the board right now if they have any questions at this particular time, because they received this budget last Tuesday night, and they have a few weeks to look it over and to find out if they have any questions about it. But other than that, any questions right away?
I'm just curious in terms of navigating the document. Where do we get the revenues versus the expenditures?
The revenues are always at the beginning of each budget, and as you can see, you have everything is tabbed. So
The revenues is everything before the
Right.
second tab.
No. Your first tab says Town General on it,
Yeah.
right? And then your revenues for Town General are the first section of that.
Right.
Then that goes on for, let me see how many pages. That goes on for 5 pages, and then you start with your expenses. And in this particular case, your first one is Town General, Town Justice, because it's our courts. As everyone is well aware, the Village of Ossining does not have a court anymore. The town took over, they consolidated into the town courts in 2012. And so so that's what you do. You look at the revenues, and then you start on the expenditures, and you go Town General, and then parking violations, traffic parking violations.
Okay, that's helpful. Thank you.
Okay. Maddie does a great job of putting the budget together and breaking it down into sections for you.
It's very, very nicely done. Thank you.
And Dale and Tom are beyond.
Maddie, what are, if I may, what are our projected revenue sources with regard to sales tax and mortgage tax?
Good question.
Do you want to take this, or
We just got a sales tax in today. We're very, very happy. Yes, we're very, very happy. In fact, I'm going to turn to my trusty page here. Now, sales tax in our particular instance, each municipality gets their own sales tax. So the Village of Ossining gets their own sales tax, the Village of Briarcliff gets their own sales tax, and for us it's in the unincorporated area. So as of when these books were printed, we had $349,239 in sales tax. We just got notified today that we have $587,739, or 85% of our projected sales tax, what we budgeted for. So we try to be conservative with these numbers. We budgeted, we're on page 3 of 27 in the revenue of unincorporated.
Oh, look at me. I had it highlighted.
Oh, good. So we just found out today that we get these emails sent to us, which tells us our revenues, and then of course the money's wired in this new day and age. You don't have to wait for checks or anything.
Wait, so
There's a-
I did have a question. So wait, actual right now is 394, 239.
As of
but
today, it's
Right.
$587,739, or 84.9% of what we projected it to be.
Are there, based on our fiscal year, are there additional revenues coming in?
There'll be the fourth quarter, which is always your best quarter because everyone holidays shops. So it's we hope everyone goes out and they shop. It's not just this very local area. It is a percentage against Westchester County, Tom? It's a good question.
It's allocated based on population, but some places, like the city of White Plains,
Right.
they can, I guess it's called exempt the county, and they'll receive the sales tax monies directly instead of going to the county for distribution. But all the monies collected for everyone else in the county then gets allocated based on population. So, it's more advantageous to the town if people were to shop in like Cortland versus White Plains, because the tax will be allocated amongst the county residents based on population versus being kept by White Plains.
And the interest rates are different.
The tax, well, because in a city can peg on another. There's in New York State, there's a whole bunch of different things. There's counties, then there's cities, there's towns, and there's villages. And if you're in a city, you can actually tag on a little percent onto the sales tax yourself. Yeah, right. But very interesting. So
What about the mortgage tax?
well, the mortgage tax. Let's look, because again, the mortgage tax is in town general.
Major revenue income.
Revenue non-tax. Right.
This is the mortgage recording tax?
Yes.
Ah,
Revenues. Thank you.
So now the mortgage tax is a town general tax, and the reason for that is that you have to be can you explain it better than I can? So we only explain it once, Tom? We do this often.
I would say that based on the statute, based on a reading of the statute, it would be a townwide revenue. And based on the formula, it does support it being a townwide revenue and not a town outside revenue.
Right. So what happens is the village of Austin gets a mortgage tax, a village of Briarcliff gets a mortgage tax revenue, and then you have to be a municipality, or the auditors and the comptroller's office several times, maybe 10 times we've checked this out, have insisted us on this being.
I know you guys anticipate the fact that I'm going to bring it up as to something that we should discuss at a later time this year. I do understand that the comptroller's office has an opinion that states that. I also do know that municipalities can request that be changed in legislature, and it can be passed for specific municipalities. It has happened and can be done. In the state, we are an extremely unique town, in the sense that the unincorporated portion of our town is the smallest portion. It doesn't happen like that in most of the other towns. And the villages are the biggest percentages of the population. And so, my understanding and is that with respect to the mortgage recording tax, when, as the supervisor said, with the village of Ossining getting their portion from the county of the taxes, and the village of Briarcliff receives their portion of the mortgage recording taxes, and then the rest of that money does not go to the unincorporated town. It goes to the town general, which ends up being a de facto double dipping for the villages, and not a portion set aside for
Well,
the
it would never
unincorporated.
be the difference between the village of Ossining and, because it's not like I think it's like 25, 50% goes to the the town. It's a higher amount goes to the
It's sort of
town.
like 4/6 goes to the town, and then 1/6 goes to
Yeah.
each of the two villages.
So you would have to do a whole thing, but this total amount would never go into the unincorporated area. There would have to be a
understood.
town-wide. So it would be something we can look into again. We've looked into it several times.
Yeah, but it is according to a formula that's statutory, that it doesn't fluctuate, right?
No,
Well, we
it's
don't
according
have
to
it.
a
We don't have it.
comptroller opinion, which if you speak to the comptroller's office, they will tell you that because this particular municipality is different, they can ask for a change.
Right. But I just want people to understand that this lump sum is not what would go
Would
into the
go,
unincorporated.
right.
It would be a much,
Understood.
How and when is it allocated?
you get the
When does it
mortgage
come in?
tax
When does it
twice a
come
year,
into-
twice a year,
Twice a year.
twice a year. So right now, our first,
As opposed to the sales tax, which is on a quarterly basis.
right. So right now, we have our first half in of $264,067. So we have to look into something like that and see what happens and see what the proportion would be. But it isn't double dipping as much as it's a different, we'll find out what we can do. Okay?
Yep. So these monies come in at different times as,
Oh,
yeah,
yes.
so it's, the actuals could still, even if.
Oh, the
they
actual
seem-
mortgage tax won't be until January.
Right, so
Yeah.
even though it could seem behind so much, it can come in at that very.
Correct. Oh, no, it will definitely come in. Yeah. When you're that, we budgeted very conservatively our revenues so that we can make sure that we hit them. And we can, is there any other questions you have?
I'd like to compliment Maddie.
Can you turn on your mic? Because I think if you're going to compliment her, you should
Yeah.
hear it.
Yes.
I'd like to compliment Maddie for putting together this budget. If you take the time and read through it, it takes quite a bit of time to read through it. The amount of entries and exits in and out of funds and transfers here and there, and having to do with all of the various lifeblood of the community. And it's simply incredible how much information is packed in here and how it's all divvied up. It's amazing. And for you to be able to do that for us is incredible. We appreciate it.
We do.
Thank you. I will also share that, we have an incredible team that works on all of these things together. So between myself, Sue, Tom, and Dale, I think, everybody puts in a great deal of work to putting this together. And I think, I know we say this every year, but this year it's something that especially we can be proud of, because not only have we done well as a budget in general, but I think we've made a lot of changes that make conditions better for all of our taxpayers. So I think it's certainly something we can all be proud of.
It is the most comfortable. I was in the village of Ossining for 5.5 years, and I've been supervisor for 3 years, and I'm very, very pleased with this budget. Sometimes you have to make sacrifices, a lot of times, because I went through the recession in the village of Ossining, and my name was no. So every time you asked for something, I had to say no. But they pulled through, we pulled through. We're very comfortable with this budget. We want you to look at it and scrutinize it, and the department heads will come in and have their say, and then we'll discuss it some more, and then we'll move forward. But please look at the webpage, right? If you go to thetownofaustining.com, it's right the second section. It takes you right out to the supervisor's statement on the budget, which I have received a great many emails on, saying, complimenting us, my lovely editor and myself, as when we put these documents together, we try to make them as clear and concise as possible. We want you to understand it. We want input from the community, and we're very pleased to be your legislative body. This whole board works very, very hard on everything that they do. And as I state in the statement, we can be very bold sometimes, but it is not business as usual here at all. And we do what we need to do for our local constituents, which are in the unincorporated area, and for our town-wide constituents, so that we can give you the best services for the money that you pay in your taxes. So thank you very much, and say a prayer that we have a nice late winter. So moving on from that. Oh, did you have
Can I-
another? Oh, I'm
Maybe
sorry.
can I just give a quick shout out to
Absolutely.
some people in the audience? I just wanted to say, sometimes, well, every time we have a legislative session, which is every other week, which is not like now. Now is a work session, but at legislative session we have what's called visitor recognition. We're
We're not done the meeting, though.
I understand.
Oh, okay.
We're not. This isn't a time for visitor
Oh,
recognition.
okay.
But I see that we have a couple of scouts, Boy
Yes.
Scouts from Troop 18 in Briarcliff Manor here today, that are working hard on earning their citizenship merit badges. And I had suggested, hey, come on down, come to a meeting, and we'll show you what it's all about. You know, your community
And here you are.
your civic duty and all that. And lo and behold, I picked the budget meeting or to have them come down. And I feel bad because sometimes we talk about,
Ethics
athletic-
and things.
athletic fields and environmental things. And today they got budget.
and
so,
and baseball fields. And
but I just wanted to give a shout out to them. You guys have you did a great job sitting through. I don't know how long you're supposed to stay, but I've seen you. I can vouch for the fact that you were here and for sitting through the budget section. You guys get a great deal of credit. But I certainly welcome all the scouts
Yeah.
from the Ossining or the Briarcliff or any community to come and sit in.
Actually, when they first came in, we asked them if they were in the PIG classes, which is
The what classes?
person in government.
Oh,
Oh, you'll start seeing people in the spring. But anyway, I thought it was very interesting for them to come, because we were talking about that just before we started the meeting. That this is an interesting one to come to, because you get to learn a little bit about how to budget. Now you go online and you look it up and you'll say, "Wow, those are what those columns mean." Because I know lots of people have asked me over the years. How do you read that thing? It's a massive document. Ours is massive, and the village is even even bigger than this one. And the village of Briarcliff is about this size too. So, but it's very interesting. So yes, we want to thank you for coming out tonight, and especially the night before. No school tomorrow, right? Yeah. So yeah, it's election day.
I was thinking.
Briarcliff? Schools? Austin
Austin.
schools?
Well, that's funny. I thought they had school tomorrow, so I was going to suggest that maybe they should leave. But since we're running till midnight tonight, you guys can stay. I'm kidding. No
You
school
would
tomorrow.
watch these faces go white if we actually did stay till midnight. So another topic we're going to talk about tonight is we're going to talk about FMLA policy revisions, and Maddie's going to deal with that for us.
This should be pretty quick, so don't worry about it. So we were supposed to address this at our last work session, but we had to table it because I was not here. So I have a bunch of the documents here. If anyone didn't get a chance to look at them, I can also provide you copies later. But basically, the Family Medical Leave Act is what we're talking about. And right now, the town of Ossining does have a family medical leave policy, but our Labor Council informed us that it needed some updating. And so, as you can see, there's a whole lot of red in this document. So some updating meant pretty much a total rehaul, and that is because the federal act has actually changed quite considerably. So there's now a whole section that has to do with if you are caring for a family member who is in military service. It used to just be sort of one catch-all category, and now it's split up a little bit. So basically, this is something, like I said, that was written by Labor Council for us. It's basically just expanding on a program that we already have. But what happens is that if one of our employees has to care for an ill family member, if they're pregnant and they need basically maternity leave or paternity leave, something along those lines, it entitles them to 12 weeks of unpaid leave in which they get to continue their position and they get to keep their benefits. If they do have sick time or vacation time or personal time, they can use that if they would like so that they can continue to get paid, but it's considered family medical leave. So if anyone has any questions, I will try to answer them. It happens every now and again, like I said, when employees are pregnant or they have to go out to be with their spouse who is pregnant, or if they have a child who has some sort of illness, God forbid. And so that's pretty much where we are. Labor Council gave us a whole bunch of new and exciting forms that we get to fill out when this happens, as well as a very colorful and lengthy poster that pretty much sums up the entire act in a couple of paragraphs and basically what all of the standards are for us as an employer. So like I said, you have all these documents. If you have any questions, I will try. But otherwise, I'd like to have this on as a resolution to adopt the updated policy at our next meeting.
I have no questions other than, did we already get it so we could review?
Yep, it's all on the FTP, but it's
Okay.
in the October 21st folder because that's when we were supposed to review it.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Good. I think, are we all in favor of just putting the new policy on the agenda? I know. Yeah, we have no choice.
You don't really have a choice.
Yeah.
I know
I
that.
guess my question, Maddie, is, Sue, should we have the materials and read them and have discussion then before?
You got them on,
Well, that's we got them on October 21st, but we didn't end up speaking about it, but I don't know
I
if
think
he gets a packet?
What you handed out, I have misplaced.
Okay.
okay. We'll make sure you have it again in your Friday packet. Okay, and then what we'll do is we'll make sure we email them to you too. You know, separately, okay? And then, yeah, if there's any questions, but this is something that is,
Yeah, it's legal.
yeah,
It's highly specific
yes.
area of law, and I would
We're very-
defer to Labor Council
Right.
because it's like another language.
Yeah. We, yeah.
Anyone wants a hard copy, I have one right here.
There you go.
I'll take it home.
It's in red. It has the red. There's the infamous lines there, Eric.
What?
It's got the infamous crossouts and the red,
Yes,
you know.
I know. I love the red line.
It better not come back with revision.
We have been through quite a bit in the last, between the police contract and the Rec IMA contract. There's been revisions upon revisions upon revisions. I do want to thank last time this board and our team that did the negotiations, and also the Village of Ossining for stepping up to the table and really doing a good negotiations on that contract. As I said that in the press release, you can put anything down on a request for a proposal, and it's when it really gets put down on paper for signatures. The contracts are all signed. We're ready to move on, and so it should be an interesting time ahead with us. So we have this now.
Thank you, Maddie.
And we also have next Tuesday, we have budget talk about budgeting. We have
Wednesday?
Next Wednesday, I'm sorry. Thank you very much. We have budget adjustments, and there'll be quite a few of them. We stay on top of them during the year, but we've had some situations happen. Number one, we've had an extensive cost to run the courts because we put a police officer in the courts at every court session. We have had our foreman out with a knee operation in our Parks Department. We have several things that have caused us to make adjustments that have to be made. So Maddie, again, has worked diligently on putting all these adjustments together, and we will have them next Tuesday at the
Wednesday.
oh, sorry. Next Wednesday. I know.
It's been a long week.
And it's it's Monday. So next Wednesday, we will see you again next Wednesday, November 12th at 7:30 at the courthouse for a legislative meeting of the town of Ossining. And are we having a public hearing? Yes.
Yes, on the
The
Taxable
changing
status
taxable status date, that's correct.
That's right. Speaking of which, yes, we had Fernando in to talk to us about changing the taxable status date from June 1st to May 1st. We'll be having our public hearing on that next Tuesday. We'll be right at 7:30. Public hearings are always the first thing on your agenda. That's the rules. And but that is to help us to be able to get all your exemptions in a month earlier than right now, so that the assessor's department can catch up and make sure they have everybody's numbers correct when they have the tax date on June 1st. So we want to thank you all for hopefully learned a little bit about budgeting. Please feel free to go on the webpage. We do put we put our capital project page on. We put everything on the webpage that has to do with this budget and everything else we ever do. So we are very proud of how open we are, and how we can move forward with your help in any way. So if we can be of any help, you can contact me directly at sdonnelly@townofaustining.com. And yes, thank you, sir. And tomorrow is Election Day. Please go out and vote. The Village of Ossining has a mayor and 2 trustees. Town does not have anyone at all in the town is running for election this time.
Village has, oh, you're right. Okay. And then there's Senate. There's
Well, I was only up to
Assembly.
the town. Then we have it's 2 trustees and a mayor, and then we have the Assembly, we have the state senator, and of course we have the governor, and then there's a myriad of other. I said the Assembly. So
3 propositions.
Yeah.
One is about having bills go paperless.
all right,
One is about
save a tree.
right. One is about redistricting,
Mm-hmm.
and one is about a school technology bond.
Right.
That's number 3.
That's
There are
number 3.
aren't there?
Right.
That's-
There's 3.
Yep. So go online and look them up. Read, get your own opinions, but please vote.
Yeah. So thank you very much. You'll see this tape after the election. We're not live at work sessions. We are live at legislative sessions. So enjoy your week, and we won't be in the office tomorrow, but we'll be back there on Wednesday. So have a wonderful week, and we'll see you next Wednesday night at the courthouse. Thank you.